But as far as we're concerned as users, we know that the computer has a bunch of files. Each file seems to have a file extension, like a .txt, .toc, .js, .whatever. And that file extension gives our operating system a hint so that it knows what icon to render on the desktop, as well as what application to launch if you were to double click on it, right? So there's some sort of a mapping, a registry that says if you see this file extension, this is the application you should be using, this is the icon you should be using, etc. And the operating system just follows these rules as expected. Then we moved on and we talked about the basics of creating an HTML file, right? So you create a new file with a .html extension, and now your operating system knows, okay, this file is an HTML file. Then you go ahead and you start putting text in there. Ideally, the text looks like HTML, which now many of you know, which is great. Then, if you were to double-click on that file, most probably the application that is registered for that extension is a web browser. For some of you, it might be Internet Explorer. For the rest of you, it might be Chrome. I suggest you use Chrome for this class, but it's up to you, I guess. And when you double-click on it, the browser will open up, it will read that file, and it will render it in front of you. We then talked about the fact that a web browser understands how to interpret, how to execute a programming language called JavaScript. And we said that you can add JavaScript to your web page by simply adding a tag called script, and then putting your code either directly inside of that tag, or you can put your code into an external file with a .js extension, and then reference it from the script tag using the src or source attribute, right? Any questions up until that point? Is that clear to everyone? Good, okay. So then I said, but for me to show you JavaScript and for us to talk about JavaScript, constantly changing the applications, going from a text editor to a browser and jumping around was kind of a pain, right? So I wanted to do something simpler, so what I did is I built this little application that allows me to basically write the HTML up at the top in that big black area up there, and then have the result simply execute below in the white region down there. We also noticed that there's this thing called alert, which when we run it, whatever we pass into those brackets ends up coming up in a dialog, and then you can see that content there. Once we dove into JavaScript, we talked about the fact that JavaScript has values. So JavaScript has numbers. We saw that. JavaScript has strings, text. How can you represent strings in JavaScript? How do you create a text in JavaScript? Exactly. You put it in double quotes, or single quotes, or... Very nice. Okay, perfect. All right, good. We talked about some of the operators. We talked about the arithmetic operators, addition, subtraction, multiplication, deletion. No problem. We all know those. However, the addition is an overloaded operator. What other function does it have? Concatenation, exactly. So the idea is if you were to use the plus operator, where either the right or the left value are a string, it will end up concatenating the two pieces together, producing a new string. Very nice. Then we talked about comparative operators. You guys remember that? How do you compare two values to see if they're the same? Three equal signs, right? A number equal, some value on the left, equal, another value on the right. And if they're the same, what will it produce? What will be the result of that operation? A Boolean value, which will be either true or false. Very nice. Okay, perfect. Okay, so we've come to that, and then we talked about the not equal. By the way, what's the universal programming sign for not equal? Very nice. Okay, exclamation point. Very nice. So that's the not equal. So that equal is the, if you want to know if the two things are not equal, right? And then you can also do less than, greater than, or equal to, whatever. Fine. Any questions up until now? Can we keep going? Good. All right. So, now that you understand comparison operators, let's talk about Boolean values for a little bit. So as I mentioned to you before, a comparison operator returns a Boolean result, right? A true or a false. Boolean, again, it literally just means true or false. Okay, that's it. So let me create a variable called A. Sorry, let me create a name called A, and let me assign it a Boolean true. Let me create another one, const B, and assign it another Boolean. 1 is equal to 3. What is the value of B?
False.
Exactly. Very nice. Okay. What's the value of B?
True.
Yeah, because true is equal to true. Makes sense. False is also equal to false. That also makes sense. No problem. Now, suppose we want to implement an algorithm, and remember, an algorithm is just a series of steps that we want to tell the computer to do. We want to do something else. Okay, suppose in addition to saying this is equal to that, const z is 1, right? And const I don't know, y is 5. Suppose I want to say this. I want b to be true only if z is equal to 1 and I don't know, how do I write and? A and D, right? And, wait for it. And y is equal to 5. Now, in programming, and, if you want to say as well as, and, is not written as and. It's very fancy. This is where we get fancy. We put in, count them, 2, I don't know, ampersands, I think is what they're called. 2 of them, because 1 isn't enough. 2 is better. So 2 of these in programming means and. Got it? Remember this. Memorize it. Bring it deep into your soul. This means and. So, what will be the result of this operation?
True.
What will be the result of this operation?
True.
Okay, and means both sides have to be true. Right? And. Okay? So you have to be, over, 18 and under 21. Right? If you're over 21, it doesn't work. If you're under 16, it doesn't work. Right? And. Okay, so what is the result of this operation? True. Therefore, B would be true. Got it? Okay. So now, wait, okay. So, we saw that true and true will give us true. Yes? So this means true, the other one will mean false. Okay? Yes, copyright infringement, Facebook, I know. Okay. Ready? Okay. Remember that for an and to be true, both sides have to be true. If either side is false or both sides are false, the result will be false. Got it? So in this case, one of the sides is false, therefore the result is false. Is that clear? Okay. If both sides are false, of course, both sides are not true, therefore it's false. Got it? What's the result of that?
False.
False. Because here, one of the sides is false, therefore it's false. False and true is also false. Very nice. Cool. Okay. Or means either one can be true or both can be true. Basically, the only time or is false is when both sides are false. Got it? So, if either side is true, notice this side is true, then it's true. Or. So you're either 16 or 21. If you're either, it's okay. Good. If you're neither, that's the problem. Okay? If both are false, again, it's false, obviously. Okay. By the way, you notice these parentheses, they work exactly the way they do in mathematics. You basically group the operation together. So in other words, in this case, you do this before you do that. Okay, so this part is true. False or true is very nice. Perfect. Good. How about here? False. Because the result of this operation is true. True and false will give us false. Remember, and requires both sides to be true. Right? Right. So that's the answer. How about this one? True. So this will give us false, right? So it's this or this, which results in this. Yes? Okay. By the way, what you're studying right now is called Boolean logic. That's the fancy name of saying thumbs up or thumbs down. Okay. Interesting.
Not true.
Remember? Not. Right? The opposite. Not. The reverse of. Right? This is what, anytime you see, it means the opposite of. Yes? So in this case, again, it's a familiar operator. We've seen this before. It means the opposite of that. Okay? So you flip it. In this case, again, you flip it in the other direction. Yes? So far we know and, or, and this is called the not operator. The not, the opposite of. What happens here?
True.
Okay, so we know that false and true will give us false. We then flip false to get true. It's making sense? How about this fancy one? Okay, let's go through it. So this becomes false, right? This is the first operation we do. Yes? Because remember, it's parentheses, just like in mathematics. So first we turn this to false. Then we say false and false. The result of this whole thing will be false, right? So then we say false or false. False. Good. Very nice. How about this, Jim? Okay, we sort of have a consensus. Let's see. So this ends up flipping, right? This part right here. Ooh, wait, I have a cool... Why am I not using this awesome hand? Boom, look. So this part becomes true. This part becomes false. True or false becomes true. Nice. So this whole region here is true. So all of this true and true. True and true is true. Jump. Very nice. Wow, these don't stop. Okay, let's keep going. Alright, you guys are fast. Alright, so this flips and becomes true. This flips and becomes false. True or false is true. True and true is true. What did I do? Oh, I'm sorry. Wait, sorry. We have to do this first. Sorry. Wait. So we flip this. This becomes false. Sorry, I misread it. So false and true will give us false. True, this becomes true, so true or false gives us true. Yeah? Cool. Is anyone, be honest, is anyone confused by the Boolean operations we've discussed? The and, the or, and the not? Wow. So I'm that good? Alright, good. Alright, cool. Okay. Didn't we do this already? Oh, okay. What does this do? So this part flips it, and then that part flips it again. Well, what are you guessing? The answer is in front of you. Okay, now give me an answer. So this becomes true, right? This becomes false. Because this part becomes true, then that makes it false again. So this makes it true, that makes it false. And if and has false on the other side, the result, of course, is false. Got it? Okay. And, ooh, this is fun. Let's keep going. So that makes it true, false, true. So this part right here is true, right? Then that makes it true, that makes it false. So it's true or false. Therefore we have true. Easy? This is easy. Boolean logic is super easy. Okay. How about this one?
False. True.
Okay, let's go. So this hand, so false, that makes it true, false, true. So that part is true, yes? Then that becomes true. So it's true or, and then that becomes false. So this part here is true. So what's the answer? Boom! Yeah, we got this. We got this. Okay, good. Wait. Okay, excellent. One thing I wanted to show you before we move on and show you more Boolean awesomeness. So up until now, wait, can you guys read the code? Okay. Up until now, I've been showing you the results of things by doing alert, right? I've been doing alert and then saying, look, there's a number 67, and then closing it, and then you get a dialog that says 67, right? And I told you I'll explain to you what alert means later, but for now, just assume that whatever you do, anything you put between these curlies is going to come up in that dialog and render, yeah? Okay, so that remains. Nothing about that changes. That's still how it works. But I'm getting annoyed by the fact that I keep getting a dialog that's blocking me from writing code. So I'm going to do something slightly different. I'm going to write this, console.log, open, close parentheses, semicolon, and anything that I write here will get printed down here. Now console.log, if you guys write console.log in your like web pages, in your files, and then you double click them and it runs in the browser, you will not see anything. The reason for this is that this stuff gets printed into the log, into the console, I'm sorry. And the console you can only see if you open up DevTools. Remember last time we had an error, and the only way we could see the error is by going to DevTools, and then in the console we had red text that had the error in it. Do you remember this? Okay. Similarly, here we can also write logs. Again, this will get printed into that. So if you want to see the result of this, you have to go and open up DevTools, and then you will see the result of the console.log there. Now you might say, if that's the case, why is it printing there for me? That's because I did a trick. I changed what console.log does, I changed the underlying code, and made it so that instead of writing into that actual console, instead it just prints it on the screen for you to see. It's just easier. Okay, is anyone confused by that? I can repeat it if you are. You're confused? Okay, look. If you write console.log in your script tag, forget this stuff. That console.log result will only appear in your development tools. Remember how to open development tools? You go to like the thing, DevTools, and then you click on the console and you see a bunch of stuff. That is where you will see the result of what you wrote. Okay? In this here, I changed the code so that the console log does not write there, but writes here. That's it. Yeah, good. Clear? Okay. So the nice thing about this though is I can do this a bunch of times. I can go, and get a bunch of prints. It's whether it's with an alert, I would get like 4 dialogues and it gets annoying. So I got rid of that. Okay, cool. So if we all understand this, let's continue. So again, whatever I put inside of these parentheses is what will get printed here. By the way, you notice how it prints undefined? Undefined in JavaScript means no value, like empty. So it printed what I put in here, and I put nothing in here, right? So it printed nothing, which in JavaScript is called undefined. Fine? Okay. So let's go back to Boolean logic. So we saw how, thumbs up, thumbs up, down look, but let's actually do it. So if we do true is and, hang on, let me do this so you guys don't see the result. And true, what should be the result?
True.
if I change this one to false?
False.
Nice. And if I change this to and?
True.
True, right? Because either one of the sides is true, therefore. Now, instead of putting an actual Boolean value here, let me put in an operator that returns a Boolean value. Let's say I do 2 is equal to 3. What is the result of this? False. False or false returns false, right? Okay, let me say 2 is not equal to 3. Now this will turn into true. True or false returns true, right? Let me get all fancy on you now. Let me wrap this up. Let me comment this out so you don't see the answer. Remember, 2 slashes comments out the code. It means the interpreter, the thing that actually runs your code, skips it. It doesn't run it, okay? So here I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. What happens now?
True.
Okay. You think it's true? Let's see what the result is. True. So let's see what happens. So 2 is not equal to 3, that's true, right? That makes it false. That makes it true. That makes it false. That makes it true. True or false is true. Make sense? Okay. Now, const A is 4. Const B is 8. And let's go, let me comment out this code. And let's say if A is equal to 4 and B is equal to A, or B is not equal to 6. Ah. True? That's it. By the way, can everyone read the text? It's big enough? Okay. We got true. Let's see how. So is A equal to 4? Yes, so that would become a true. Is B equal to A? No, so that would be a false. Is B not equal to 6? Correct, because B is 8, right? So B being 8, B being 8 is not equal to 6, therefore this would be false. Wait, sorry, that would be... Know that. Okay, then false or true would result in true. True and true would result in true. You guys see how we're working our way back? One step at a time? Cool. All right. Let me try to invent one that's different. This is too easy. I'm trying to think of a hard one, but I'm really having trouble. Okay, const Z is, I got it. Okay, let's have this be, don't say the answer yet. I'm going to write some. So, 7 times 2 is equal to 13. Const. By the way, I know how to multiply for those of you who are laughing. Is 8 times 3 equal to 7. Okay, wait. 80 divided by 4 minus 9. Okay, y is z and not v. Let's wrap that up just so it's clear. Console.log Spasek y or not true.
False. No, true.
I'll give you, the rest of you, a little bit of time. Try it, really. Like, go through the exercise. Oh, I'm sorry, sure. Is that better? Yeah? aren't doing this, like this could have been a quiz, right? So it's better to figure it out now, and then when a quiz happens, no problem. Galia? Yes? I have permission to open it? Yes, I am asking permission to open it. Okay. Boom! Okay, so let's figure this out. So, let's, again, remember, it's in programming, you solve a problem one piece at a time. So first, this piece. 7 times 2, 14. Is 14 equal to 13? No. So the result of this would be false. 8 times 3? 4. 80 divided by 4? 11. Good. So all of this turns into 11. Good. Is that equal? No. So that's false. Okay. So here z is false. Then we say that turns it to true, that turns it to false, that turns it to true. Yes? So the result of that is true. False and true is? Nice. So here y is false. Or not true, that's false. False or false? Bada boom. Yeah. Easy, right? See, when you solve it one piece at a time, it's ridiculous. It's super simple. Yes? Miata done? Okay. Alright. One more. Can you give me one that's complicated? I'm having trouble thinking of one that's hard.
Take your time, we'll wait.
Take my time. Okay, you guys are so nice. Okay. A is equal to Joe. Okay. Const B is equal to A equal to Joe and not what's on it or just randomly. It's too easy. I'm honestly trying to think of something that's gonna throw you off. Not. Okay, I'll just add parentheses to throw you off. 8 is is greater than z, which is a constant z here, which is going to be a 7 times 2. Okay. And then I'm gonna const u is going to be b. You know what? B is triple equal to z, because why not? And A plus parentheses. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Perfect. Yes, now they line up. This lines up with this, and this lines up with that. Very nice. Cool. Okay, the Alsing.
I think you need to explain type juggling first, because B equals C is false, but when you put 2 equals,
Yeah,
it's
right.
true.
We never use double. We'll talk about that separately. But yeah, no, we don't. That's why I do always use triple. So yeah, there's no type coercion. Okay. Come on, people. What do we have? True. Wow. So can I uncomment? I have your permission. Thank you. All right. True. Cool. All right. So let's go through this. So, is A equal to the string Joe? Yes. So this part becomes true. Is 8 bigger than Z being 14? Is 8 bigger than 14? False. So that becomes false. Then, we reverse that to get true, reverse it again to get false, therefore this part is false. True and false results in? False. Cool. So B is now false. What is Z? 14. Is false the same as 14? Obviously not, right? Therefore, this is false. Okay, what is A plus 1? Exactly. Why?
Because it has nested one to Joe in the string.
Yes, yes, yes, yes, and yes. Good. So remember, the plus operator is overloaded. And if either side is a string, it will concatenate. So it will treat the other side that's not a string as a string, and it will stick them together and produce a new string. So what is the result of doing A plus 1? Exactly, that, right? Now is Joe, by the way, remember, parentheses don't, they just group things, right? So this is the same thing, syntactically, this is the same thing as that. As that, same thing. So that is the same thing as that. Got it? Okay, no confusion there. So obviously Joe 1 is not the same as Joe, therefore this would be false. Right? False and false is going to be false. Nice. So let's get rid of that. Oh, sorry. Cool. So now, so U is now false. This makes it true. That makes it false. That makes it true. Dum, ba, dum, bum. Okay. Sorry, this I tried. It's really not hard. Good? If anyone, you know what would be cool, actually? I got this. On the Facebook group, if you guys can think of like a weird, complicated version of this, put it up there and in comments, we can answer. Cool? Might be interesting, right? If you guys want to like mess around and try some more complicated things, we can do that. Okay. Just, I ask you to stick with the syntax I've taught you. Like, for those of you who know what double equal is and stuff, stay away from it. Don't use that. Just stick to the syntax I'm teaching. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Not bad. So we understand Boolean logic. We understand the syntax. The syntax for AND is 2 of those. The syntax for OR is, right, the 2 lines. And the NOT, of course, is... Okay. Okay, so we understand those 3. Very nice. Now, when you write code, when you write logic, it's a good idea to have what's known as a condition. Conditionals are important in programming. What do I mean by this? Suppose I wanted to give you directions on how to leave this room, right? I would say, get up, and then maybe, walk that way. And you would, like, take a step, right? And then I would say something like, if there's a wall, don't continue walking. You can imagine the consequences if we did not have such a condition, right? So, some notion of, like, if, yete, right? If, as long, right? is a good idea to have when you're trying to explain a bunch of steps to someone or perhaps a computer, right? So in programming, we have exactly this. It's called, surprise, surprise, if. Wow, programming is so cryptic. Okay, so if, and then what we do is we open the parentheses, open, close, and here is where we specify the condition. Okay? Then we open up curly braces and we close the curly braces. This is the beginning and the end of our condition. What do I mean by this? Suppose here I write, console.log, hello. Then I have a condition that says, 4 is equal to 7. And then in here I write console.log, yay. And then at the end I write console.log, bye. I get hello and bye. Surprise, surprise, because the result of this condition was false. If it was, however, true, it would execute, it would run the code that is inside of this condition. The reason, now you might say, why have these curly braces? Well, suppose you have lots of things here. Right? This says the start and end of all the stuff that is inside of the condition. Got it? Okay. So now let's go and apply some of that awesome logic that we had to solve a real world problem. Logging in. Right? When you guys first go to Facebook, it asks you for your username and password, right? Okay. Now suppose we know underneath that the username and password that should be typed in, private user, is, AUA rocks. No, wait, that's the password, let's say. AUA user is the username, let's say. And then the private password is gummy bears. 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's the password that we expect the user to give us in order to give them access to our awesome Facebook, right? Then the user types in, user name. That is the most ridiculous, hang on, inputted username is AUA user, okay. And then const inputted user password is gummy boars, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, okay. Now, let's just say we want to now check to see that both the username and the password that was entered in have to be correct in order for us to allow that user into our system. Okay? So, if, console.log, yay, you are in the system. If not, we're not going to let them in. Okay, so how do I know if this is the same thing as this?
Private user is the same.
What operator do I use? Huh? Yeah, exactly, the comparison operator, the triple equals operator. So I first want to check if this is the same thing as, exactly. Which, if that's, wait. How come I'm not seeing anything? Something's up. Hang on. Something's not right somewhere. Oh, right, because it's not true. I'm sorry. Yes. Okay. I also want to make sure that their password is correct, right? It's not enough that the username be correct. The password also has to match. So, and, very nice, and. So I want to compare this one they didn't log in. However, let's fix it. So suppose they go and they say, oh, I'm sorry, my mistake. And they type that and that. Nice. Nice. Now they're in the system. Now they've logged in, right? Obviously, when you actually build a system, you're not going to have the username and password just coded in your JavaScript for anyone to just go to DevTools and read. Of course, don't do that. And this information would come from a form that would be visible on the screen. All of that stuff is, obviously for later. For now, just assume that we know that this is the user and password, the actual username, and this is what the user typed in, and then based on that, we're either going to allow them into the system or not, using our awesome Boolean logic. Cool? Now, if I were to say, when you reach a wall, like, don't keep walking, I might want to say, but, if you reach a wall, don't keep walking. But what if you don't reach a wall? So there should be like another case, right? If else, like in other cases, right? In other words, what I might want to add, and I could add, is an else condition. An else condition will run if the if condition fails, right? If, do this, else, do that. So, let's come in here and say console.log, you have the wrong user or keyword. So if the username or password were incorrect, I would get that. In other words, if this is false, it runs this one. However, if it's true, it runs this one. Easy, right? Super easy? Somewhat easy? Good. One more thing. Suppose I have a bunch of conditions. Suppose I want to, you wouldn't do this for security reasons, but suppose if the user got the username wrong, I want to tell them. If they get the password wrong, I want to tell them that they got the password wrong. And if they got both of them right, then I want to let them in. Here's how I could do that. So, if private user is not equal to what they typed in that case, I want to tell them, console.log, wrong username. Okay? Else, if, bear with me, private password is not equal to inputted user password, I want to tell them wrong password. Else, just let that sink in for a moment. It should be intuitive, almost. Remember how it works. If has a condition, and if it's true, the stuff between the start and end will run. All of this code here will run. Yes? If it does not match the condition, it will go to the next else, and then potentially to another if. And if this is true, okay, it will run. If not, it will go to the next one. And the else, of course, is like the default case. If everything else fails, then the else will run. Yes, sir?
So if both of them are incorrect, the console will only show that the first one is incorrect in this case?
If both of them are false, you mean?
Yeah.
Yes, correct. Yeah. So if I type in both the username wrong and the password wrong, it'll just say your user was wrong. Yes, absolutely. Exactly. Yep. Okay, so in this case, we're saying wrong username because the username was, had this extra text in there that the original did not. Yes?
something called elif, or the else if is the same as
Else if is else if. It's else if is what you're talking about. Yeah. Other questions or concerns? Okay. Now, is this clear? Can I start throwing some questions at you? Yes? All right. Let's get down to business. Watch. So you understand like a practical use of this, right? Like you might want to test if you want to let the user in or not. Makes sense, right? Okay. Now let's just play with basic values. A is the number 1, is the number 1. Const B is the number 4. If A is the same as A, no wait, it's the same as 1, if, yes, if B is the same thing as 9, go.
Yay.
yay.
Now, let's see it. Nice, fancy, fancy. All right, let's go through this code and understand what's happening. A is 1. Is A equal to 1? Yes or no? Yes. True, so this is true. If it's true, that means we go in and we execute the stuff inside of this and before that, right? This is the block that we've created here. One interesting thing to note here. Have you noticed that I've indented the stuff inside of the curlies? You noticed that, right? This is like shifted over a little bit. I could just write everything here. It would still work, but it's harder to understand. When you shift things, whenever you make a block, so the start and end using these curlies, it's a good idea to shift the things inside in so it's clear that these are inside of that block. It's just easier to see and understand, and it's clear immediately that all of this is inside of this and this. Yes? It's just easier to understand, that's why. Okay, so if this is true, we go here, we run this, we get yay. Is B equal to 9? That's a false. So therefore, this condition fails, so this does not run. Else, this runs. And then this runs. And then we jump over else, and then we could have written something here. Log, okay, okay. And now we will get ba ba ba ba, and at the end, okay, okay. Hands up if that does not make sense to you. Wow. It's kind of fun. Okay. Another one? You guys can handle it? I don't think you can handle this. Okay, and you can read the text, right? The font is big enough? Good. Okay, so let's have this be first name and have it be Joe. Joe. Const last name and have that be okay, and then have age be 25 or something. Okay. So we're at a club. If age is big, how old do you have to be to get into a club? 18? I don't know, no one checks, but let's just say 18. Okay. Greater than 18 or greater than or? So how do I do that? Where? To the right, to the right. Good. Okay. And let's say this is just a horrible, horrible place that only lets people in whose name is Joe. Only people whose names are Joe and who are, okay, or, I got this. You either have to be 18 or older, or your name has to be, what? Kampati Jonas. Okay, I'll say. How do you do it? Or, how do you write or? Right? So, or, go ahead, how do I check?
First name equals the same as
Okay, cool. So, if you happen to be greater than or equal to 18, or your first name is Joe, okay, we get into this condition. And we say console.log, yay, you are in the club. Cool. Now, you might get into the club, but to buy drinks, doesn't matter what your name is, you have to be 18. So, if your age is greater than or equal to, is it 21 or 18 here? 18, all right. US is 21. Okay, so, if you're over 18, console.log, yay, you get to drink. Else, console.log, okay, let me just compress this code a little bit just so you guys can, okay, alright, cool. Let's see. And then, another if, because why not? Because we get to do that. If your name is Joe, no, if your last name is Orosian. Ooh, I got one for you. Here's a really cool thing. Ready? If you want to know how many characters are in a string, just do dot length. This will give me the length of the text that is inside of this name. So, what will be the length of last name?
9.
Guys, this is the value. Sorry. Oh, wait, this is, I'm sorry, yes. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9, right? 9. Okay, so if, this is a ridiculous club that only I would ever own. If your last name happens to have 9 characters in it, woo, you get to drink for free. I would get no comment. Exactly. But the problem, there's still the problem of the legal issue of the fact that I can't serve drinks to anyone who is not 18. So perhaps we should add a condition. Okay, how do I add a condition? And, right? And. You have to be 18 or older, and your name has to have, your last name has to have 9 characters, yes? So, and your age has to be greater than or equal to 18. Cool. Now, yes?
Can you add another and?
Yeah. Okay, let's do another one. And first name dot length. Here, let me just put these in new lines so you guys can see everything. Hang on. And first name dot length is 3? No, 2. Is Joe going to be drinking for free tonight?
No.
Very nice. Okay, so let's make it 3. All right, okay. So, what is the result of our awesome club program? Well, the whole thing. So, is this going to? Sorry, let me go up. Is this going to be true? Okay, so we're going to say, yay, you're in the club. Then, is Joe's age greater than or equal to 18? Cool. Yeah, you got some drinks. Then, is the last name, by the way, is that true? Is that true? And is that true? Free drinks. Bada boom. I'll print bottle there. Very nice. You guys getting this? It makes sense, right? It's not difficult. Cool. Okay. Can you please take out something to write with and a pencil? It's not a quiz, don't worry. Just take out like a sheet of paper. Notebook is great. Something you can write on, and a pen or pencil or something.
Can I just,
Yes, of course.
can you measure the length of my number? For example,
Like how many characters it has?
yes. So,
You can, yeah, I'll tell you later, but basically you can stringify it and then do the length.
so if we wrote age dot length,
You can't do that. No, you can't. I'll tell you later. No, it's special. Okay. So, here's what I want you to do. Let me take out a sublime. Hang on. So, no, man, do it right now. Can everyone see what I'm typing? Okay, so the first thing, create two numbers and assign them names. So create two names and put numbers into them. If I say anything that's unclear, just tell me, okay? If it's clear, do it. But write the syntax correctly, to the best of your ability. It's not a quiz, don't cheat, just write it down for yourself. So now create another name and put inside of that the result of adding the two previous names. İncesos humanas. Hai to nas. A stefci, B stefci, sejmeć kci. Okay, I just gave the answer. Sus! Write it with right syntax, the best of your ability. Yes? Okay, tell you what, I'm going to give you the answer, obviously. Just, for now, just to the best of your hishobutsun. Just, okay, I'm sorry.
Can we start the name with a number, right?
You cannot.
But can we do it with like characters, let's say with at sign or like with hashtags?
You can do it with $sign. I don't know about hash. I don't know about the other ones. But in general, it's a bad idea to use that other stuff. I would just always use just a basic character. Okay? Okay. Then, 3. Create an if condition in which you compare the 3 names. Compare them in whatever way you want to whatever you want. You want to compare them to each other? Fine. You want to compare them to just hard-coded numbers? Fine. Just write some Boolean logic that you think makes sense to you. So, and then if that if condition were to be true, I want you to print hello AUA to the console.
But end is not good in negative on our
Jer kuata är sant. Så snabbt? Ja. just a little bit more time. Okay. And then I want you to add an else condition. And where you print, okay.
All else in one of the console notes.
Console log. Actually, I don't care, but let's do console log. Okay. Can I keep going, or you guys need more time? If you need time, tell me. I'll give you another minute. So, enough? Try not again? Okay. No problem. Remember, the goal is to focus on the syntax. Try to write every one of those tiny characters correctly. Okay, by the way, so I'll start writing the answer. You guys can keep, you don't have to look, you can just keep writing your code, okay? All right, so first thing, create two numbers and assign them names. Let me zoom out a bit. Okay, let's get rid of this.
Sublime method about it.
Sublime, yeah, yes. Mirafa. Okay. All right, so. Okay, there, I created two names with numbers. Then, next one was create a third name, put inside of it the result of adding the two previous. Okay, so that was, so this is part 1, this is part 2. Part 3 was create an if condition which you compared the three names. If A is equal to B, or B is equal to C, or A is equal to 1. Okay, whatever. Then, if the condition is true, print hello AUA. Okay, so this would be part 4, and then part 5 is add an else condition where you print OK.